you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. With Tony Marinaro.
55 seconds left in the penalty, a minute and 27 seconds left in regulation time. Boston 4, Montreal 3. Lafleur coming out rather gingerly on the right side. He gives it into Lemaire, back to Lafleur.
The sickest Montreal Canadiens podcast.
You're in the ball!
Sports entertainment like no other.
Rejoint, on lui fait perdre la rondelle, une passe devant. Et c'est le dégagement et ce sera la victoire des Canadiens. Coupe Stanley pour les Canadiens. Leur 23e de l'histoire.
You found the dogs! John, you found the dogs! He found the dogs! And all together, they worked a young team to the top. And now, a 24th Stanley Cup banner will hang from the rafters of the famous Forum in Montreal. The Canadiens win the Stanley Cup.
Brought to you by Energy Transportation Group. Driven to be different. La Vida Tibi. Embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination. It's gonna be sick.
It's the Sick Podcast. Marinaro on this Monday, September 8th. It was late Saturday night at 12:32 a.m., early Sunday morning, that the Montreal Canadiens Twitter account took most of us by storm, by surprise, and by shock, announcing the passing of the legendary number 29, Ken Dryden. It's going to be a tribute show to Ken Dryden tonight, and I'm going to speak with one person and one person only, so he can share all of his thoughts and all of his memories vis-a-vis Ken Dryden as a teammate, Ken Dryden as a friend, Ken Dryden as a colleague. We bring in the senator, le sénateur, another Hall of Famer, Serge Savard. Serge, good evening, Serge, and I want to start by offering my sympathies to you and to your teammates, of course, and to all of Ken's family and friends. What an incredible loss.
Well, it got us, every one of us, by surprise. I've seen Kenny Dryden a lot in the last 2-3 years. Because of the 50th anniversary of Team Canada 72, both of us were the guy that put all the festivities together, and we met every week for two years, and we talk every week for 2 years, and we met many times. And I tell you, I got a lot closer to him in the last few years than I did all those years playing with him. It has to come that way because we share so many we have the same value when it comes to violence in hockey, concussions, and we've been fighting together for the same thing in for the best of hockey. Both of us, we did not want to see our children or grandchildren have to go through violence in hockey like it is. So we fought against that, and we rejoined together on those subjects.
So Ken never mentioned his illness to you. This is something I haven't spoken with anyone since the announcement of Ken's passing who said that they were aware that Ken was ill. But if you come to think of it, it should come as no surprise that he kept this matter to himself and to his family, because Ken Dryden was always someone who didn't want the attention on him. He didn't want anyone to be talking about him. He didn't want to be the story.
Well, nothing was about him. And I talked to his wife Friday afternoon, and that's what she mentioned to me, that Ken had this cancer for 2 years, and he didn't want that, especially at the end. They try all kind of treatments, and obviously it didn't work. And at the end, when things got turned really sour, I guess he didn't want anybody to know about it, and that's what his wife told me. And personally, I had a meeting with him a couple of weeks before, which he canceled, and he claimed he had a sore back. So that's the way it is. He's that type of guy, the last 2 days I spent with him was at the Four Nation tournament. He came down here in Montreal, and the National Hockey League and the Player Association honored Team 72. And I did spend a couple of days with him, and he looks terrific. He looks in great shape, and never mentioned that he was sick.
So it was, if I understand correctly, probably give or take about 36 hours prior to his passing, that his wife got a hold of you and she wanted to let you know.
No. She called me Friday afternoon after he passed away.
Okay. He passed away when? Because the Canadians announced it on Saturday at midnight. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah. Well, the family. She got a hold of me to try to prevent. She wanted something very private, and she wanted me to tell all his teammates and teammates of Team 72. So I got a hold of Montreal Canadiens, and to it took us a few hours to put this thing together. That's why it came out, early Sunday and after midnight Saturday night.
Wow, isn't that something? Unbelievable. Serge, so much has been said, and usually, as is the case, it's unfortunately so when someone passes that we start to talk about their greatness, and maybe we should do it a little bit more when they're alive. He truly was something special, one of the greatest of all time. And I'm happy to be talking to you today because you were with him from the beginning of his career in the National Hockey League in 1971 until the end in 1979. So you shared so many moments together, of course, including 6 Stanley Cups and the Summit Series in 72 and so many others. Talk to me about when you first got word of Ken Dryden.
Well, it was late in the season in 1971 when he joined our team. We had 6 games left going for the end of the season, and I think that the Bruins had something like 40 points ahead of us, and nobody gave us a chance in the playoffs. And with Kenny, we won the last 6 games of the season and beat Boston in 6 and win the Stanley Cup that year. If there's one Stanley Cup that we should put the name on, it's the 71 Cup with Ken Dryden's name. He really turned things around. We saw him, all of us on the team, we came from the junior ranks, and at one point of our career, we had to decide whether we continue at school or we sign pro, and there was no in between in those days. We couldn't do both, and having Kenny coming in the dressing room with his books under his arm and going after practice, going to McGill University to continue his course to be a lawyer. We look at this guy and we say, well, I don't think you'll be successful. I don't think that's not the way we were taught that to be a hockey player, and we thought he was coming from another planet. And that was a new trend, and he turned out to be a great teammate, and he really showed his leadership on the ice, and he was a very quiet person, but with a great sense of humor. We everybody took a jab at him in the dressing room and for this and that, and he would laugh. He was great. We got to know him, and obviously, when you win, you don't see the bad things. You only see the good things, and Kenny was big part. We had a great team. But he was the best at this position in this time, and he was the best in the league, and big Hall of Famer. When you walk at the Hall of Fame, first thing you see it's Ken Dryden. A huge monument of Ken Dryden at the Hall of Fame. It's well deserved. I was very close to him, especially. We shared Team 72 together, many, especially in the last 3 years. and for him, even with those 6 Stanley Cup, and in my case, a couple more because I start before him. The best moment of our career was Team Canada. So it was in the 28th of September, 1972. So,
if we can, Serge, I just like to go back to something you said when you said we saw this guy showing up with his books. We have a picture of him at Cornell, which isn't that something, right? Look at him there, Cornell, where he spent the 66-67 season, 67, 68, 68, 69. In his 3 seasons at Cornell University, Ken Dryden had a record of 76 wins, 4 losses, and 1 tie. He had a goals against average of 148, 152, and 181, a save percentage of 945, 938, and 936. From there, he went to the Montreal Voyageurs, where he played 33 games and had a goals against average of 268. And he gets called up late in the season, like you said, in 1971, and you go 6-0 to end the season. So you know a little bit about him. This kid's coming from Cornell. He's a scholar. He's got his books. He was with the Voyageur for a cup of coffee, but he joins, Sam Pollock brings him up to join the Montreal Canadiens in 1971. At what moment was it in 1971 that you said to yourself, oh my God, we got ourselves like a franchise goalie here? Was it versus the Bruins?
I think so, because we won the last 6 games, but we say, well, those are regular season games, and we're playing against teams that are not in the playoffs, and so we won those games, those 6 games. But playing the Bruins, even Sam Pollock didn't think we were going to win. Nobody thought we were going to win, and after winning first game, second game against Boston, and beating them, you say, well, there's something special in there. Every one of us in Montreal, we did see him play with the Voyageurs. There's a couple guys that, Lambert and Larocque were telling us this guy is special. They told us that after, but you just mentioned his record at Cornell. Well, Boston drafted him, and they didn't think much of him, or they didn't see him at all. Otherwise, they wouldn't trade him. They trade him for nothing, and probably one of the only transactions between Boston. We would never trade with Boston, so they just let him go because they didn't think people were looking at the college players saying, "Well, they can't play in the National Hockey League." That's not how you become a National Hockey League player, by playing college. The same mistake we made against the Russian. Those guys are no good. They haven't played pro. Wait till they played against the big guy, and all of a sudden they play the big guy and they look pretty good. And it's about the same thing that happened to Dryden. But taking a chance at that time, that was not a chance that Sam Pollock took. We had no chance. It's like me when I recall Steve Penny. I didn't think we had a chance of beating Boston, and we did. You just want to try something else. But obviously, the management know a lot more than we did, because we didn't know nothing about him at that time.
You were the general manager of 2 Canadiens teams that won the Stanley Cup in 1986 and 1993. And Serge, you've said this before, and I agree wholeheartedly with you that you win as a team. And everyone talks about Patrick Roy, but those teams won as a team. But on every team, there's one player who probably plays a bigger role, who stands out more, who performs better. And there's no doubt that Roy, and to a lesser degree, maybe Claude Lemieux, were the catalysts of 86. And in 93, 10 overtime wins by Patrick Roy. Are you saying that Ken Dryden had the same impact for the Canadiens in 71 that Roy did for the Canadiens in 86 and 93? And that is, you guys won as a team, but that cup belonged to Ken Dryden.
Well, obviously, there's a Conn Smythe Trophy because of that. He was the best player in the series, and he was. And just ask Jim Pappen in New York and in Chicago when he had a completely open net that would end the series, and Kenny was just outstanding, and obviously he was our best player on the ice. But like you say, you need a team. We had a great team in the 70s, and we had the best goalie on top of it. So it's that's why Scotty Bowman says the 77 team was the best team ever. When you get Guy Lafleur on the right side and Jacques Lemaire and then Steve Schott, they all score 50 goals, maybe 40 for Lemaire, but you got over 150 goals on the same line. So you have a pretty good team. That helps, but we had the best too. You know, you could have the best pitcher, but if you have the best reliever on top of that, it makes it the winning combination.
You brought up that save versus Jim Pappen, Chicago Blackhawks, 1971, Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final. There it is. Look at that picture. When you see that picture, Serge, talk to us what's going through your mind when he makes that save in Chicago back then. What do you think?
Well,
what is the bench thinking?
I saw the puck going in. I didn't see his pad there when I first saw it. You know, the puck was the net was wide open when the puck was going on Jim Pappen's stick, and Kenny came from nowhere and made a save there. That's the series. That's the Stanley Cup right there.
Wow.
On that goal. That's the Stanley Cup Finals against Chicago.
Talk to me about that 71 win that brought so much satisfaction to your team and to Montreal Canadiens fans all over the world. I remember my dad telling me stories, and still does, that he and his friends got together, said, you know what, we got to go to the airport. We got to go greet the team. That was, like you said, an unexpected win. Was that the one that you won that brought you the most satisfaction?
Well, it's hard to tell. That's one cup that you didn't expect to win. Probably for me, I would say 76, because the Flyers were dominating the league on the ice and with their gloves. Fights and all that, and the league was taking the wrong direction, and that's where Ken Dryden and I were pretty well at the same level on this, and we were against fighting in hockey, we were against violence in hockey, and Kenny wrote many articles about concussions in hockey. That's how he was pretty good friend of the commissioner Bettman, and he wrote a couple articles that went on the New York Times and Wall Street journals, and Bettman didn't really like that, and that's the way he was, and he was right. To me, he was right, and he was always there to make a difference, to try to change things for the best. And after he retired in 79, he had some more good years ahead of him, but he took the best years out of him in hockey. And he was a lawyer, and he wanted to do something different. He became an MP. He became a cabinet minister. He ran for the leadership of the party, and then he wrote books, and he was a writer. And to me, he probably wrote the best book in sports.
The game inspired so many. Yeah.
It's probably the best book that was written in sports. So he had many talents, and he was just, we always say that when somebody dies, a good person, but Kenny Dryden was a great person. He was a great human being, and I got to know him. I'm so glad I got to know him better.
Yeah, class personified, class.
50 years ago, he was talking about pollution. We've been talking about that only in the last 10 years. He was working with Ralph Nader in every summer in the United States, And he was aware of those things at that time, and we were looking at him. What you talking about? You know, he was ahead of his time. And I wrote that in my book. I'm not saying that because he passed away. I wrote that in my book, and I said Kenny Dryden was ahead of his time, and he was right. We were wrong.
That's why he made the save off Papin, because he was already there ahead of the time. That's right. Serge, I could, this is amazing conversation, and I can do this forever. If I could just take a minute or two to thank our sponsors for bringing this program. Of course, Energy Transportation Group, a leading full-service logistics provider serving all of North America, driven to be different. Playground Poker. If you haven't played poker until you played at Playground, it's voted Fan Choice Best Poker Room at the 2025 Global Poker Awards. Enjoy free drinks at every table, free food at all cash games, daily tournaments, biggest events in the game like the World Poker Tour and the World Series of Poker Circuit. Don't miss your shot at the world record Bad Beat Jackpot, now closing in at $1 million, just minutes from downtown Montreal across the Mercier Bridge Playground. Also, Bittt to Tibi, they launched their new Ultra Lager, refreshing, thirst-quenching beer, perfect for those cool fall days with only 90 calories, 2 grams of carbs, and 4% ABV per can, available in a pack of 6 and 12 in grocery stores all around the province of Quebec. It's ultra light and ultra refreshing. So, you win the Stanley Cup in 1971. He had like 6 regular season games under his belt or whatever it was. And the following year, he wins the Rookie of the Year. Like, when is that ever going to happen again in the National Hockey League, that you win the Stanley Cup, you win the Conn Smythe, and the next year you're the Rookie of the Year? That's amazing.
That's amazing. I think Stastny won the Rookie of the Year in his second season because he was eligible. But this guy, we knew when the season started that he was going to win the Rookie of the Year. You know, the discussion was a lot of people say why he should not be eligible because the rules are the rules. You have to play a certain game, and it did apply for Stastny as well. But it's well deserved. He deserved to win that trophy, and deserved the Conn Smythe, and he was just a great athlete, you know. And he really worked at it. He was thinking ahead all the time. What can I do to make things a little bit better? And when things were going bad, if there's one thing that he had a little bit of problems, is those international games. His file is not as great as his file in the National Hockey League, but at the end, the 8th game, in Moscow, he did make some great save, and he was back. He was back at the end.
I was going there. That famous 1972 Summit Series. You were on the team together, of course. An 8-game series. Game 1 takes place in Montreal. The Russians blow you guys out of the water. Ken Dryden in front of his fans. It's a very, very bad night at the office for him. But they come back with him in Game 8 in a huge 3-2 win. Of course, Paul Henderson scores the winner. Talk to me about what you saw in Ken Dryden after getting pulled in Game 1 and coming back for the most important game of the series, Game 8. You win it, you win the series. Are there moments that you remember from that Game 8 leading up to it or during the game that you can share with us regarding Ken Dryden?
Well, first of all, Tony, nobody expect Ken to play the 8th game. That was a great call. That was a great call because Tony played the 7th game, and we won the 7th game, and I guess after meetings with John Ferguson and Harrison, then decided to go with Kenny.
Wow!
And everybody was surprised. You know, everybody was surprised because Kenny didn't have a great series up to then, and he came on the last game, and he was outstanding. He was better than Tretiak. Even, you know, Tretiak was not great either. It was not a series of goaltender.
Yeah.
But you know, what can I say about this guy? I've seen him against the Russian, and but all those years with Montreal, oh boy, he was the best.
There was a funny story regarding Ken Dryden and, of course, his performances versus Russia. 1975, many consider it one of the greatest games of all time. It was a good game. I'm not so sure it was the greatest, but I'd love to have your opinion on it. I think the hockey that we saw in the 1986 Canada Cup, I'm speaking about in my lifetime, of course, because I was born in 72. Okay, so respectfully, I did not watch the Summit Series. Okay, but in my lifetime, 86 was the 3 games of 6-5 versus Canada versus Russia. I think were probably the greatest hockey games that I saw. Some believe it was the 75 game between the Montreal Canadiens and the Soviet Union, USSR, back in 1975 on New Year's Eve. That's another night where the Canadiens heavily outshot the opponent, but the game finished in a 3-3 tie. And Dave Stubbs, on a recent podcast, was saying that the late, great Red Fisher walked into the locker room at the end of the game and said, "Hey, Ken, you blew it." And Ken said, "Yeah, as a matter of fact, I did. I did not have a very good night, but that was another night where he probably was not at his best versus the Russians, eh?"
Well, maybe a bad goal. I think it was 50 shots against 13 or something like that. But you can judge a game by the shots when you talk about the Russian, because they weren't shooting the puck for nothing. They were passing the puck around, and they were shooting only if they had a great chance of scoring. So they only shoot when they have a quality shot. So, but yeah, you mentioned maybe the greatest game ever. I don't know, but I never had so many comments. So many people came to me and say this is the greatest game I've seen. But I didn't have anybody telling me other games than this one. And personally, as a player, it's probably one of the greatest game I played.
Yeah, December 31st, 1975.
Not I played, the greatest game that I've been involved with.
Wow. 3-3 tie once again. The shots, I believe, were 38-13, but I think the amount of shots you had in the direction of the goal, if they were keeping track of that at the time, you were bombarding the Red Army team. It was really something. Okay, so there was another cup before that, 75, and now in 74 and 75, like you rightfully put it, the Philadelphia Flyers won 2 cups with their brand of hockey, known back in the day as the Broad Street Bullies. And, with Dave Schultz and the others wanting to play the game of intimidation, a lot of people thought the Canadians were going to just roll over in 76. But what a character performance in the playoffs in 76, especially versus Philadelphia. Talk to me about that. And if there's a moment where Ken really stood up in that series.
Well, he had a good series, like everybody on the team that year, because before the series, the team, we had a meetings and we were determined to stop Philadelphia. We in Montreal, we didn't like that style of hockey. We didn't promote that style of hockey. But you know what? There's one thing that they forgot. We were bigger than them. And we stood up to them, and we beat them. That's why we beat them in 4. And that's why I remember my comment on television right after the series, and I says that this is the greatest victory for hockey, not for the Montreal Canadiens, for hockey.
Amazing.
Yeah, that was my comment. That's why when they asked me, it says, well, the most rewarding one is probably 76.
His legendary resting stance. We have a picture of it. Of course, it's made its way through social media.
Yeah.
Never have we seen a goalie stand like that, rest like that resting stance when the puck is at the opposite end of the ice. He brought so much to the game. I mean, I loved his mask. I loved his hockey cards. I loved his resting stance. And, for those who dreamed of being a defenseman in the 70s, and they were playing either ice hockey or ball hockey, they would do the Savard, the spinorama in honor of Serge Savard because they wanted to be him. For those who were forwards, you know what? They wanted to be Guy Lafleur when they played. And for those who were goalies, Serge, they wanted to be Ken Dryden.
Yeah. The problem we had too many kids in minor hockey that wants to be Kenny Dryden. And those kids, I don't know, it was a mystique about the equipment, and a lot of kids wants to be a goaltender even after with Patrick Roy. You know, it was something special, and a lot of kids wants to be a Ken Dryden. You're right, but you know, the relation with defensemen with goaltender, we didn't think so many guys should be Ken Dryden.
Yeah,
but you know, to me, I know you're a great fan of Guy Lafleur. To me, after Guy Lafleur passed away, and I had many occasions in banquet and in special event, and I can tell you now, after Guy Lafleur, he was the most popular guy here in Montreal. Even if he was away from Montreal, he was the most popular guy. People remember him as a great goalie. People remember him as a great person, and that's why you saw what happened after the people heard he passed away, and you know, it's like everything stops here in Montreal. He was
everyone is so sad, really. I want to bring up his hockey DB because a lot of people don't know this, but they've probably heard about it since, of course. If we can bring up his stats on hockey DB, do we have them? No, okay, we don't have the stats on hockey DB. Let's keep this up here for a second, but I'll mention what happened. Dryden wins the cup in 71 with the Canadiens, and 72 you lose out. It's the Bruins that win the Stanley Cup, but in 73 the Montreal Canadiens win the Stanley Cup again. In 73-74, in the middle of a contract dispute, Ken Dryden takes a year off from hockey, comes back in 74-75, plays a ton of games, and then from 76, 77, 78, 79, 4 straight Stanley Cups. But can you tell me what you guys were thinking in the locker room after, with Ken Dryden, you win 2 cups in a span of 3 years, and he takes a year off from hockey?
Well, there's nothing we could do. You know, he had a contract dispute, and in those years, the numbers were not the same number than we're talking about. There was only a few to $10,000 or $20,000 difference. But I suspect that was not the case. I think Kenny took a year off to do his bar. He became a lawyer, and then he came back. This guy, he had a different agenda. And when he retired in 79, he had some good years ahead of him, but probably his best year were behind him. And he decided to leave and do something else. He was a lawyer, and he won. Later on, he won in politics. Well, he was president of the Maple Leafs as well for 6-7 years, and then the cabinet minister. He was very active. He wants to make a difference in your life, in our life.
He went on to be an announcer, of course. I read a story, I believe, that I think he had passed the bar exam in 80 the day before in Ottawa. The day after, he was in Lake Placid for that famous call with Al Michaels. Do you believe in miracles? Yes. We're a bunch of, fittingly so, college kids, actually, like Ken Dryden, beat the Soviet Union, of course, at the 1980 Winter Olympics, and to go on to win gold medal thereafter by winning in the final. He did it all. You're right. And we brought up his stats a minute ago. I want to bring them back up again. 6-time Stanley Cup champion. Serge, 6 cups in 8 years. 5 times Vezina Trophy winner. 1971 Conn Smythe Trophy winner. Calder Cup in 1972. 5-time All-Star. Career goals against average of .224. Career save percentage of .922. Member of Canada's 1972 Summit Series team. Once again, winning goaltender in Game 8. Hockey Hall of Fame inductee in 1983. Serge Savard, the Montreal Canadiens are the most historic franchise in the history of hockey, and they're known for a lot of things, including their incredible goalies that they've had in their history. There's so many that I won't even begin to mention them. You're aware of a lot in hockey history, past and present. You've seen a lot of great Montreal Canadiens goaltenders, even more than great. If I say to you, top 5, top 3, where would you rank Ken Dryden?
Well, I have a tough time when people come to me and they talk about Patrick Roy, they say, "Oh, Patrick Roy was the best goalie." And before Ken arrived, people would say, "Oh, Jacques Plante was the best goalie of all time." I only can say Kenny Dryden was the best goalie of his time.
Amazing.
So we
because
had
times change.
Yeah, time changed. It's unfair, and he was the best of his time. It's like they say, who's the best player of all time? I would say Bobby Orr, and my kids would say Gretzky. Come on, Dad, he rewrite the NHL book records. He wrote all the new records. Yeah, but Gretzky was the best of his time. Bobby Orr was the best of his time by a mile.
And you're right, because different times, different amount of teams, different rules, different equipment, different off-season training, different facilities, different infrastructures, different kind of help. You're right, it was all different. But without it, look, I think it's safe to say we're never going to see another goalie win 6 cups in 8 years. Huh?
Well, I agree with you. It's very doubtful. Well, first of all, today's rule with the salary cap, you just saw Montreal trade Price. It's just a salary cap game. They didn't trade Price. They trade his contract. Price won't come back. So it's a different game now. And you won't see a team like the Montreal Canadiens in the late 70s that won 4 cups in a row with the structure we have in the game today. It's impossible. So it's safe to say that won't happen.
Serge, there's going to be something private for Ken's teammates, family, friends, I would imagine.
Yes, tomorrow, Tuesday in Toronto. They have a gathering. It's really family and friends and former players and Team Canada members, 72. The family want to keep it very, very private. I told the family, you don't know how big is it? They say, yes, we know, and we want it private. And that's the way it's going to be, and we have to respect that.
Of course. I want to show you a picture. I'm sure you've seen it, but you and Ken shared so many moments together on the ice. But look at this, huh? as he looks at you breaking out, and look there. You're maybe you're not out of your defensive zone yet, but yet he's resting on his crossbar, and he's just looking at you, A, in awe of your talent, and B, he knows that you're a sure thing. Look at the confidence from him saying, yeah, Serge is not going to lose the puck here. It's okay. We're in our defensive zone, but he's going to break out. This must bring back so many amazing memories for you, though. Just the moments you had on the ice together, your victories, your Stanley Cup wins. Is there one moment in that on the ice or in that dressing room together where you said you've come to know him more off the ice in the last years than you did during 71 to 79, but between 71 and 79, was there a moment where you and him had an embrace that you'll never forget?
Well, it's mainly on the ice, and Kenny he was going to school, like after practice, like the boys would get together once in a while and would go for lunch and have a cold beer. And he went back to school. He was different. He was different, but he was really involved with the team when he came in the dressing room. Like the scene that you just shown. We brought that picture in 2006, I think, when he retired his jersey, and we brought that picture at the press conference, and we had a ball. And I look at him and I say, Ken, you were worried, huh? You were really worried. We had a great time. I got to know him better, like I said, and he's just a great person.
Serge, obviously, we know that you, as well as the entire hockey community, has taken this very, very badly. Our thoughts and prayers are with his family, and our condolences go out to you on the loss of not only a great goaltender and a great Hall of Famer, but also just a great person and a great human being. Ken Dryden, may he rest in peace. Thank you very much, Serge Savard.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ken Dryden, rest in peace. It's the Sick Podcast. We'll be back tomorrow night, same time and place. Once again, I want to thank all of our sponsors. I want to thank Energy Transportation Group. I want to thank Playground. I want to thank Tibi. I want to thank Accident Insurance Solutions. You know, all insurance isn't created equal. You know where to find the right solution for you. Accident Insurance. Accident doesn't sell insurance. They shop insurance for you to find the right product right on the money. Whatever your insurance needs, home, automobile, or business, the number to call is 514-363-3636. Visit their website, www.accentassurance.com. And you can go all the way with Betway and get a free bet up to $200. First bet loses. NFL season has started. And what a game last night between the Baltimore Ravens and the Buffalo Bills, of course, with the Bills winning by a score of 41-40 and a great fourth quarter comeback win. Scan the QR code on the screen or click on the link in the details section to create an account. Redeem your welcome offer if you want to get in on the action for a Super Bowl winner already. Offers only available for new customers. Terms and conditions apply. Offers not available in Ontario. Must be 18 years of age and older. Please play responsibly. I remember vividly the 79 in ending Stanley Cup final, Stanley Cup playoffs, because my first hockey memory was Lafleur's goal in 79 versus the Bruins. So I remember bits and pieces, but obviously me being born in 72, I never really watched Ken Dryden play live. But I did a lot of research on Ken Dryden, and I know how great he was. This is once again, we talked about just so many things that he did on and off the ice. I think it's safe to say, there will never be another Ken Dryden. And, I was going through my phone today because I was sure that at one point I had a picture with Mr. Dryden, and I wasn't able to find one. And then, maybe it happened in a previous phone that I was not able to save. But folks, when you meet someone that you look up to, take a picture, and you're going to cherish it forever, especially on days like today. I saw on social media so many people were able to post a picture with Ken Dryden, and he truly was one of a kind. Ken Dryden will never forget you. It's a Sick Podcast. May you rest in peace.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. The Sick Podcast is brought to you by Energy Transportation Group, driven to be different. Bittt, embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination.